Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of gold. His breast and his arms of silver. His belly and his thighs of brass. His legs of iron. And his feet part of iron and part of clay. These feet and toes of iron and clay, it says the iron mixes with the clay. That word mix is used 3 times. Now here's something we have to cover. That word mix in Hebrew is the word Arab. So the toes that are 10 of iron and clay, the iron Arabs with the clay. So there's our first big clue of who these 10 toes are, not to mention the one and the same, the 10 horns of Daniel 7:1. So now let's go to the next big clue of who the 10 toes and 10 horns are. This image, this picture we see here comes from Psalm 83. And I will read, "See how your enemies are astir, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, that the name of Israel be remembered no more. With one mind they plot together, they form an alliance against you. The tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarites, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, the people of Tyre, and even Assyria has joined them to lend strength to the descendants of Lot." These ancient 10 from Psalm 83 are a future alliance that the Antichrist will rule. This event has never happened. There was never 10 nations in the land of Israel to try to destroy them. So, let's go now to the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1917, and this agreement will give us the identity of the 10 countries that we're looking for. They definitely don't come from the Middle or the European Union. They come from the Middle East. And it will also give us the 3 countries who will be uprooted once the Antichrist comes into power. He will be empowered by 10 of them, and after 3.5 years, he will pull 3 up by the roots, leaving 7. So let's find out more about the Sykes-Picot Agreement.
The Sykes-Picot Agreement was a secret accord signed on May 16, 1916, that carved up Ottoman-controlled Arab territories into different zones of influence under British, French, and Russian control. The agreement was signed by 2 senior diplomats, Britain's Sir Mark Sykes and France's François-Georges Picot. Sykes drew a line on a map extending roughly from Palestine to Iraq, marking the land to the south and east for Britain and the north and west for France. Firstly, the agreement was signed to protect British and French regional influence in the area. Secondly, the British wanted to protect and secure land and sea routes to India. Thirdly, the division of the territories showed Britain's need for a northern French buffer between Britain's Middle East holdings and Russia. The Arabs didn't know about the division of their land until a year and a half later, when Russian newspapers published a copy of the agreement. The British had promised them something entirely different: self-determination and control of territories in return for revolting against their Ottoman overlords. Many consider the borders drawn up by the imperial powers as illegitimate, designed to keep Arabs weak and divided. The Islamic State group defied the borders to establish a caliphate across Syria and Iraq in the summer of 2014. IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi said of the group's expansion, "This blessed advance will not stop until we hit the last nail in the coffin of the Sykes-Picot."
After consolidating their power base in Syria, the group known as the Islamic State set about creating their caliphate. Hard-line, religious, and recognizing no borders.
ولله الحمد والمنة طبقنا وما نبتغيه وهو الكفر باتفاقية سايكس-بيكو.
Nearly 100 years ago, Britain and France divided up the region that was once the Ottoman Empire. Strange as it seemed to be getting a history lesson in the middle of the desert from a hardline fighter, the Sykes-Picot Agreement is key to the anger and rage of IS. Just a few weeks earlier, this was a checkpoint manned by Iraqi soldiers. Then IS overran it. As is common, they filmed the action and published the results.
Okay, so now for the big revelations of the 10 horns, the 10 toes, and the 3 horns that will be uprooted. Okay, so, but I first have to read Revelation 17, which is fulfilled prophecy through the Ottoman Empire. We already saw in 2017, we saw the prophecy in the Celestials that was fulfilled, that reveals the 7 heads and 10 horns. And now the Ottoman Empire, the prophecy that was filled before that, put the 10 horns in play in the 20th century. So here is a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. The woman is Jerusalem, and the 7 mountains or hills are Gareb, Goath, Achr, Zion, Bethesda, Moriah, and Ophel. And there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come, and when he does come, he must remain a little while. That king, that 7th head, is the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire remained a little while. It came after Rome, that which was or is. And so when the Ottoman Empire went down, Sykes-Picot popped up. Okay, they divided the Middle East into zones, and from these divided zones came states. We have 5 states that popped up before 1948 in the Declaration of Israel, and 5 states that popped up after 1948, and the last one being in 1971. So those are the 10 Arab states, and of course ISIS wanted to uproot 3 of those by taking down the boundaries, right? That's what 3 or 4, that's what it would have amounted to. So here is the first state that pops up in 1932, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the 4th seal. Okay, the 4th seal. There's Iraq. Iraq is the 4th. That's where Babylon was. Saudi Arabia is where Mecca is. So those two coming together in line represent the opening of the 4th seal and the green horse, which in green is the color of Islam. So Jordan is 3rd. There's the 3rd. And so following Jordan will be Syria. And following Syria will be Lebanon. And so there you have the 5. Now we know that Lebanon, okay, so after this 5 will come the Arab countries, the sons of Ishmael. Saudi Arabia and the next 4 countries are the sons of Ishmael. They're the sheiks that have been around for a long, long time, and they finally got states. Okay, so when Antichrist comes, he's going to leave them alone. Remember, 7 are left alone. That's the kingdom. There's a 10-king kingdom. There's Bahrain and Qatar. And there's the United Arab Emirates. That actually consists of 4 Islamic, 4 sheiks called emirates that live there. And then Oman. Oman is the last one, giving us 10. Okay, there's your 10. The black represents the countries where Sykes-Picot put up the boundaries that all the Muslims hate. They hate these 4 countries, the boundaries. And so now we're back to 5. So 1948 comes around, and boom, there's Israel. Okay? Israel pops up in the middle. There's the blood moon. That was the 2520 fulfillment. The blood moon happens within the 2520, early 1949, in the Armistice Agreement. And there's the other 5. There's your 10. Okay. Now remember, the blood moons are warnings. They're warnings that Israel's back in the Promised Land and that we are in the book of Revelations. So the 1949 blood moon happened within the 2520. The Armistice Agreement happened a month later. 1967 blood moon gave them Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. Now, the 2014 blood moon gave us ISIS. Okay, so ISIS, their goal was to eliminate Sykes-Picot. We heard that from their own mouths, and that was their goal. They did not achieve it. They started to, but they did not do that. So they are a forerunner to what Antichrist will do. So the goal of Sykes-Picot, of ISIS, was to take the boundaries down. So I believe Syria, Iraq, and Jordan are those 3 countries that the Antichrist will pluck up by the roots from the book of Daniel. So look for America and China coming out of the 2020s extremely strong and powerful, both being socialistic countries. I believe the Antichrist will come from America, and he's the one that will strengthen a peace agreement with many, the Arabs and the Jews, heading into the tribulation.